Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello and welcome. My name is Shuna Eve. I hope everyone's having a really lovely week so far. I know we are officially in the middle of the week now. This video I have for you guys is a little overdue and has been a little bit trickier to make than I thought it would be. If you haven't gathered from the title already, I'm kind of making little miniature palettes for my gouache paints. Specifically, the Winsor & Newton designer gouache that I've got. This video I wanted to do a few weeks back as I found these cute little mini storage tubs in the range and they were only £1 each. Although I didn't realise the little separate little plastic squares that separate each section were loose and it was just really messy trying to glue them in, so I just opted for using some full pans. I did have some of these, but the second issue I came into was I didn't have enough, so I needed 30 and I only had a pack of 10 left of full pans, so I ordered some of them off eBay and I think they were about £4 or £5 for 20 full pans. But the only problem then was the delivery was supposed to be a few weeks back and then they didn't come on time, so I had to do a different video, which is why I did the two different videos about sketching like the eyes and then the flowers. So they only officially arrived yesterday, so this is what the video is for this week. So it's a little bit later than usual, guys. I usually try to upload on Mondays, but it is now Wednesday and this probably won't come out till Thursday, so I do apologise everyone. So just using some sticky dots, I added these into each section of the storage tubs. So recently, for ease, I usually dip into watercolours for paintings and for videos just because they're easier, as they're already all in palettes and just easier just for them to get out, especially when I'm a bit of pushed for time when it comes to painting or sketches or making any form of artwork for video, especially for YouTube. I always try to use something that takes up the least amount of space, as I don't have a proper desk that I do my artwork and videos on. It's just a small B&M bought stationery table, so it's quite high, which is good and doesn't strain my back as much, but the downside is there's not much space, so I'm really limited to what paints I can get out. I can't just have tubes of paint out on the table due to the size of the desk, and that's the same as the Maya gouache, the jellies. They're really hard to have out in video. You only see part of them, or you can't see any of them paints at all that I'm using. But I do love gouache and acrylics. I like anything that's really pigmented, and I find gouache is a bit like oil paints, an extremely forgiving media, and I want to use them more. And I've had the Winsor & Newton designer gouache for a while and I used to love using them all the time, but because they were never in palettes or pans and I was just pushing bits out of a tube onto a ceramic dish, I felt like I was wasting so much of it. Same with the acrylics that I have, so that's why I've basically come up with this idea to make these miniature palettes for my designer gouache, so I can hopefully get them out more and use them in more videos rather than just constantly going towards my watercolour palettes that I've got. Same for when I go plein air painting once it's summertime again. Obviously, and the weather picks up, I will be going out far more again and doing paintings. So I just thought I would get these little tubs from the range basically for this reason. The main reason why I'm making these makeshift palettes instead of just buying them for ease. In the past, I would have bought metal empty palettes and just put the pans in, whether that be half pans, full pans. I also do prefer the metal ones. I know you can get the plastic ones that have the raised edges and usually just put a bit of paint in and let it dry and you can use them. But the metal ones just seem to be a bit hardier, they last a bit longer, and I do go plein air painting during the summer quite a lot, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm very clumsy and heavy-handed. The metal ones are just a bit more durable. I've smashed so many plastic palettes when I've taken them outside. Even just in my own art studio, I'm just really heavy-handed. I'm just terrible. Got butterfingers, clearly. But I am trying to save money this year and use things I already have, which is why a lot of my watercolour pans that I have been gifted over the years or I have bought for myself, such as the Rosa Gallery White Nights, and I've got some Royal Talens Van Gogh as well, and I think 3 little tubes of Schmincke watercolours. I've once I've opened the pans and either done swatch videos with them or have just been using them in general, I've pretty much just put them in any form of a small flat, old sweet tins or even plastic tins, old mint tins, or any sort of form of little storage cases that I can just put them in just for ease. Things that I just have around the house. This is basically just to save money. I seem to find, especially over the last 2 years, whenever I look up, even on cheaper sites like eBay and Amazon, when I look for palettes, I've just noticed even the plastic ones are quite expensive now. This year I am trying to save a little bit more money just in terms to do more travelling and just do a bit more this year in terms of getting out the house rather than just being so stuck in my art studio. The price, I remember you used to be able to get even the metal pallets to put the pans in. Sometimes they were like usually no more than £6 to £8, where now like you're looking like anywhere from 16 to 20 sometimes. And the plastic ones I've almost like gone up to almost like a tenner, and I just feel like if I've got spare stuff around the house that these pans of watercolours or gouache can just fit in, I may as well just use them. Save myself some money, and then I can buy more paints. And my second purpose obviously for this video is with making the palettes. I get to put the gouache in, and then some of my favourites, the Winsor & Newton designer gouache, and this will just allow me to take them out when playing air paint, and I'll just be able to use them more, because they're so small and compact I can actually fit them on my table. And hopefully get more gouache painting videos out, as is one of my favourite medias, alongside acrylics. Watercolour, believe it or not, really isn't. It's not that I don't enjoy using watercolours, I do struggle with it. And I do have, the only other gouache I really have is the Maya 52 Jelly Pop pack, but obviously they're extremely hard to fit onto the little table I use for my art videos. I really need to invest in a desk at some point this year, just so I have a bit more space, so you can't really see. And the tripod I'm using, I have bought a new tripod because the current one that I had has broken, and just doesn't stand up properly and is really shaky, like even if you do the minor movements. Sometime this year as well, I must focus on my filming setup too, alongside with getting a new type of desk, just something that's a bit longer or has a bit more space on it, just to make my videos flow a little bit easier, because I want to do some like nice like film and edits and scene parts, where you can actually see me physically painting or see my actual art studio. I have attempted these types of filming footage before, and have a bit of a switch around, but I don't know whether it's just because I'm a bit clumsy or if it's because I'm left-handed, but I really struggle when switching like my film setup. Whenever I change the place, my arms like obviously cast a shadow because I use like the natural light from my window, and then if I change it at the opposite side, my tripod doesn't sit on the other stand I have properly, or I end up hitting into the tripod with my arm. Or then I'm just further away from the window and then you can't see the painting that well. So I must probably invest in some better tripods, a desk, and maybe some form of lighting, just so I don't have to rely so heavily on the natural light. If anyone else is watching this and is left-handed and has any tips, feel free to let me know. Or if you're right-handed and you have the same issues, you can also let me know, because then at least I know my challenges that I'm having with filming and painting has nothing to do with me being left-handed and I'm just either clumsy or just clearly not a good film editor or know how to film properly. So out of the Winsor & Newton designer gouache, the paints I use is I ended up going with jet black, permanent white, flesh tint, Nepal's yellow, yellow ochre, burnt umber, Bengal rose, brilliant violet, cobalt turquoise, light, gold, which was, I believe, in the second palette. And then for the first palette, it was sap green, olive green, viridian green, linden green, flame red, alizarin crimson, orange lake light, lemon yellow, ultramarine, and Perusian blue. Also, I always say Nepal's yellow, but I think it's Nepalese yellow, so I do apologise for saying that one wrong. I only use two of the tubs. I know you'll have seen in the beginning of the video that I did put pans in a third one. I do have some Winsor & Newton professional watercolours that I think I'm going to put in the third one, just because I think I've only got about 8 or 9 of the professional watercolours, so I may as well use that up. And that's all the gouache I have out of the Winsor & Newton. I had another 2, but they were just like similar to the flesh tint, so I felt like I didn't really need 3 of the same kind of colour, and I can always just dabble out them and take one little tube with us if need be. The little like storage container tubs that I got were from The Range. I'm assuming you can get similar things in any kind of craft store, stationery store, and they were £1 each. The pans were from eBay. I think for a pack of 30, I think it's about £4.99 or £5. I spent around £3.29 and got 20 because I already had a pack of 10 left. They're the full pans you can get. I think quarter pans as well, which are the smaller ones. The gouache, the Winsor & Newton gouache I got ages ago, I think about 2.5 years ago, when The Range still sold Winsor & Newton professional watercolours, the Cotman, and even did the Winton oils as well. But now, I don't know whether it's all the Range stores, but my local one, it's pretty big as well, don't sell them anymore. But around then, they used to be around like £3 to £4, I believe, each tube, depending on what series you got. The Winsor & Newton designer gouache are manufactured in France, and the company, because I did a bit of little research, states they use pure pigments of gum arabic binder without any extra additives. They say most of their products, their gouache, are vegan friendly, bar 8 colours roughly. You can check on their site and multiple journal sites that state the colours, but roughly there's around 8 paints that use either oxgal, which is an animal byproduct, or the pigment PBKJ or G, which is stated on the site, and they're the ones that won't be vegan friendly. They also do quite a few cadmium free colours across their whole paint range, so their watercolours, gouache, and some of their oils. A very wide range of the gouache are quite opaque, as you can tell from their swatches. I tend to find these, out of all the gouache I have tried, a really creamy consistency. They don't really tend to dry out very quickly. These paints alone are probably with me like at least 2.5 to almost 3 years old, and they're still like how they were when I first got them. Obviously some of them are seconds and third ones that I've bought, because I have went through these Winsor & Newton gouache quite a lot and replaced a few of them quite a few times, because I've went through them that much when doing paintings. A lot of them are light fast as well. It doesn't specifically state how many stars or anything, but obviously like any brand of paints, there will be the odd paint exception that probably fade a little bit more than maybe other ones, so some will be more light fast than others. Pretty much all gouache, similar with watercolours, obviously work with water, but a lot of gouache that I have tried over the years sometimes can be a little bit more gummy, or almost do this a gloopy effect when you're trying to add water to it or mix, and almost congeals the paintbrush a little bit. I tend to find with the Winsor & Newton gouache, though, a bit like the Schmincke as well, they blend really well with water and mix really well. You don't really have to add too much water, and the blend kind of just works its magic itself pretty much. I also tend to find the colours blend really lovely as well, allowing either really nice diluted effect and blends together, or you can even go with a more dry brush and get more of an opaque blend that just for swatches or any areas that you want to be more opaque and highlighted, or a bit more frontal point where you want that obviously to be in the foreground and more noticeable. You can kind of get both these effects with the Winsor & Newton gouache. The Schmincke gouache are very similar. I tend to find in how impressed I am by them. I don't own any of the Schmincke gouache, but I have used them before, and they are really lovely as well. So these and the Winsor & Newton designer gouache are probably two of my favourite brands for gouache. Out my first palette, I am obviously biased because I'm such a green girly, but I do love my sap green and my linden green. They're my two favourite. I love any bright colours, especially citrus kind of colours, which brings me on to Orange Lake, which is another of my favourite out of this palette. They're just such vibrant and happy colours, I tend to find, and they just always work really well together. But obviously them days where you want maybe more of a stormy scene, more of a seascape, more muted colours, Perusian blue obviously steals the show every time, I tend to find, for any sky or sea scene. I always just feel like it gives such a moody effect, and I love a good moody scene. In the second palette, they obviously are more shades rather than colours. They're a little bit more muted and tuned out. Obviously you've got your burnt umber and yellow ochre, and your Nepalese or Naples yellow. They're more you could say for either sand, trees, any more rustic and muted backgrounds or foregrounds that you want to do. Obviously, once again, completely biased, Cobalt Turquoise Light in this palette is my favourite. It always is across all types of paints, whether it's oils, whether it's gouache, watercolours. Whenever I buy any brands, you can always guarantee the greens and the turquoise kind of colours or teals are always the ones I get first, and then I kind of vaguely go into the yellows and oranges, and then I try to get like the primary colours basically, bar the ones that I've already bought. They're always, as well, you can always count on turquoises, colours and teals and greens to always, I find, be quite opaque. Mainly turquoises. Greens can be very translucent at times, especially if you get more cheaper brands. I tend to find sometimes greens can be a little of a struggle, especially like your Viridian greens. The gold is also decent, but I do prefer the Winsor & Newton acrylics for like your silvers, your bronzes, and like your golds, just because they're a bit more pigmented and obviously they're a bit more heavy bodied, especially if you're using like your Chrysler or even the Winsor & Newton Student Galleria acrylics are quite good, and their professional range is really good. But I tend to find I can't remember if it's the Galleria Winsor & Newton or if it's their professional range, but they do an antique gold in their acrylics, and it's like stunning. It's got like, it's really shimmery, it looks gold, but it's got more of that like vintage rustic feel, so it's more muted, it's not like as yellow toned, it's more grey toned, and it's just really pretty. So I much prefer that one over the gouache gold, but still good. You can still see there's a sheen to it, and it definitely is absolutely fine for paint, especially if you're just trying to like learn yourself, and especially for the price as well. The Winsor & Newton gouache are really, I would say, quite cost effective. For all I'm not a pink girly as well in this palette, obviously Bengal Rose and Brilliant Violet definitely do steal the spotlight a little bit next to Cobalt Turquoise Light. Obviously they are surrounded by more muted colours and more shades, so obviously they stand out way more and look more opaque in comparison. And even though, once again, like I said, I'm not really a pink girly, but obviously they are really cool colours. Very bright, very vivid. Once again, really easy to blend out and use. I feel like Bengal Rose as well is perfect for obviously plants. Same with Brilliant Violet. Them two mixed together can make some lovely petal colours. Colours that you would see in a lot of flowers and plants. So guys, that is the end of the video. I do hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to give it a like and a subscribe if you enjoyed. Feel free to tell me what colours you really like, and I hope you enjoyed this video, or even give you an idea of what maybe you can do with some spare stationery equipment of your own, or making your own makeshift type palette. Or if you do the exact same thing as I do, then feel free to also comment that down below, and I will see you in the next video, guys. Have a lovely rest of the week. Bye.